Welcome everyone. My name is George Bhokta and I am starting a new playlist in which I will be explaining about top interview questions. I will be picking the questions from LeetCode and I will be explaining. So this is going to be the first video of that series, and in this video at first I would like to explain the flow in which we are going to understand the problems. So at first we are going to look at the intuition behind the problem, and then we are going to look at the brute force method, which we are going to understand what the problem wants. And in brute force method we are not going to worry about how much time it's taking, rather than we will be just focusing on solving the problem, and at last we will be looking at the optimal solution. And I will be explaining the solution in two languages, that is Python and C++, so it will be easier for you to understand. So follow along. If you Okay, so the first problem that we are going to see in this series is a two-sum problem. So two-sum problem is a famous problem in LeetCode, which states that we are given an integer array or list, you can say, nums and target integer, and our task is to find two numbers from this nums array, nums list. So and we are given a target, and our task is to find two numbers from this list such that their sum is equals to target, that is target equals to 1 plus 2 or maybe 2 plus 3. And it explicitly says that we will always have only one solution, and you may not use the same element twice. What does this mean is that we cannot add 1 plus 1, we cannot do that. Okay, so now let's look at this example problem that is given here. So here the array they have given is nums array 2, 7, 11 and 5, 2, 7, 11 and 15, pardon me, and target is 9. So now we need to find pair of numbers whose sum is equals to 9. So we can see here 2 plus 7 equals to 9. So we need to return. Now here we need to return the index of this. So 2 is at index 0, 2 is at index 0, 7 is at index 1, then 11 is at index 2, 15 at 3. So we need to return 0, 1. Okay, I hope this is clear. So the main task is we need to find a pair of numbers whose sum is equals to target. So now what can be the brute force method? Like what solution? So brute force method, what are the different methods that we can think of? First method that we can think of is like we find all the pairs, and we can then add them and compare the sum and target. If they are equal, return. This is one solution, but so let's first see how to approach this brute force method. So now this is one of the solutions that we can think of, and if we try to do it this way, or how we can do is that we can just iterate over. We can just take two loops, like int I equals to 0, I less than nums dot size, and I plus plus. Then after that we can just take another loop, j equals to I j less than nums dot size j plus plus. Okay, sorry, j plus plus, and we can just sum them. Sum equals to nums of I plus nums of j. And if so, I hope you are able to understand. So the basic thing in this brute force approach is finding all the pairs, is to find all the pairs. Now this is a brute force approach, and if we apply brute force approach, how much time are we taking? This loop is running n times, and this is also running. This is dependent on this, so together they are running. This is at first running 1 time, then it's running 2 time, then 3 time, so it's approximately running n time. So we can say this, the time complexity of this brute force method is going to be n square. Can we do better? Can we? So yes, obviously we can. And to find a better approach, we need to first understand about hash. I hope you guys are familiar with hash. So for better approach, we need to use hash. Now we will look into a better solution, maybe a solution with big of n time. Is it possible? Yes, possible. So we are going to look at a solution which is going to take only n time. So how are we going to do this? So for this we are going to use hash map. That is key value pair data structures. So how we are going to do this is, let's just write the example that we had. Nums array was 2, 7, 11 and 15 if I am not wrong, and our target was 9. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to find the complement. By complement, what I mean is that let's understand our task first. Our task is to find two numbers a and b such that a plus b equals to target. Now if a plus b equals to target, then we can write a equals to target minus b. Okay, we can do this. So in this example, our target is 9. So 9 equals to 2 plus 7. Now obviously 7 will be equals to 7. So now this we are calling as a complement. So how this optimal approach is working is that we are iterating over each of this number only once, and when we are at this number, suppose let me just dry run it. Okay, so how we are going to do is that we have target 9. So what we are going to do, we are going to find a complement. At first our dictionary or hash map is empty. So first we find seed, that is 9 is target, 9 minus 2 is 7. Then we are going to check if 7 is there in the dictionary. At first iteration, obviously dictionary is empty, so it's not there. So now here we are going to store 2 in 2, and 2 is at index 0, And now at next iteration we are going to again try to find 9 minus 7. This is for I equals to 0. This is for I equals to 1. Now 9 minus 7 equals to 2. Now again we are going to see in dictionary if this exists or not. Does this exist? 2? Yes, 2 exists. So if 2 exists, what does this mean? The complement of this number exists here. That is, if 2 exists in this dictionary, we can confidently say that 7 plus 2 will be equals to our target. So what are we going to return? We are just going to return the index of 2, that is, we are currently at ith index. So we are just going to return I along with d of nums of C. So maybe this is overwhelming, you are not able to understand. I will also explain this along with the code and the algo itself. So this, just remember, we are saving the number and comparing the number with the complement, and if the complement exists, we have found the target. So let's look at the solution here. So this is a C++ solution in which we are using an unordered map. So we are using an unordered map to store nums and their index. So what we are doing is that we are iterating from I equals to 0 to I equals to nums dot side, that is from I equals to 0 to last. And what we are doing here, we are finding the complement. Here we are finding the complement of the number, and we are checking this line, this specific line. What this line is doing is that the find function returns an iterator. Okay, so now we are trying to find iterator for C. So what this is saying is that go and find C, and if the iterator for C is not equals to end, m dot end also returns an iterator. So if the iterator for m dot find dot C, that is the position at which C is there, if it is not the end, that means it is in between something. That is, if it's C not equals to end, that is then C exists. So now here we are knowing that C exists. If C exists, that means complement exists. We are just returning C and the index I. Now why we are returning this m of C is that the value here stored here is in dictionary we have stored like 2, the number 2 along with its index. Now the question says that we need to return the index of the number which sums up to be the target. So m of C will return, this is m of C will return 0. So we are returning 0 comma I. Now I is where the number currently is, like in which position we are. So it's just returning 0 and 1, and there you have it, the target. Now in Python, how we'll do the same thing in Python is that in Python it's a very short code. We just have a dictionary, and then we are iterating over the list till we find a complement which is there in the dictionary. And if the complement is there in the dictionary, we are going to return the index of that complement, that is d of C and I. So here the main thing to remember is that complement and how you are going to remember this is that target is A plus B. Now we can say that B will be equals to target minus A, right? So if B exists, so this we can find at every iteration for I equals to 0 to n. We can always find target minus A by just subtracting here, and if this already exists, that means there was a number which is the complement of this. So A plus B will be equals to target. Okay, hope you understood it. That's it for this video. Adieu.